Okay, so here's a good one for you. We're going to have Kasva versus 3DB. I feel like it's been a hot second since we've seen Kasva. 3DB, it's been non-existent since we've seen him do anything but China. So far, the games he's been featuring in on this channel have been China games. So I'm excited to see what he can do with what is considered to be a hard, heavily nerfed Civ in the Delhi. And he's going to be up against the Mongols, a very hyper-aggressive type of Civ. And Kasva's opening, definitely not the best in the world. He finds the wood line, but he doesn't find anything nearby. Definitely didn't lock out in that regard. Meanwhile, 3DB's got a similar one, but the berry bushes are nearby. So I definitely like this opening bet for 3DB. And straight away, look what he's doing. Moving scouts out. Double scout, just wants to get the vision control, gather as many sheep as possible, strip away that economy, because remember, that's actually what the Mongols are always having to look towards. They don't usually go on the berry bushes. It's all about sustaining sheep early and going hunting. Opening-wise, would count. 3DB is now sending out the villager. That's the other reason he gets his double scout, by the way. It's just to see where his opponent is because he doesn't want to get his villager sniped out. In fact, when I first saw 2 units going out, I expected it to be the villager behind the scout, but it will be there in the end. And this is going to be a big deal to control the river first before Kasva, keep in mind. Because remember, Delhi, the fishing boats were able to fire. So if you actually get 2, 3 of those fishing boats out, and you scout out any attempt to get on the water, which is the biggest reason, like, behind this. It's not just gathering the sheep, it's the fact that afterwards 3DB will probably just patrol up and down the river. He wants to scout any early point in the construction of a dock, right, out of Kasva. And if he does, he'll shift his fishing boats over, snipe out the villagers, and not only do you keep him off the water, but then you're also getting an eco advantage out of just sniping his early villagers, which is so crucial. So Khan will arrive. He might get the villager after the fact, but it's going to be way too late before the fact. So dock will be complete. And scout is coming, so that might push the Khan away here. Even clubs the sheep! Oh, the spiteful details. I love them. And an outpost prioritized now by Kasva. There's no way in hell he gets this down, though, right? 3DB sees him. He can go stop this right now. And there you go. Switches over. And it's important he doesn't let this go down because it would box in his fishing fleet entirely. And now with the fishing boat complete, he might even save the villager if he turns him around quick enough. Maybe just goes to the trade out. The Khan actually dies to the scout in the end. He didn't micro it. He was too busy dragging his villager away from danger. That's a big hit to Khan at this stage in the game. That's your scouting unit, that's your herder, and that is also your movement booster for these spearmen that you've built into early, which means you'll never be able to catch the scouts. And nice Revengeance Club coming out from Kasva. Snipes out on the sheep. Now he's going to try and construct this. And oh, the fishing boats. Can they actually reach? No, they're just out of range, but they can at least hit the outpost itself. Scouts, they need to actually hit into this, but the spearman's the problem. He will now go in for it, so he gets the villager, and now he can take the sheep home. Really big hit to Kasva early on. He's going to cancel out the outpost, but this means he's likely to not get on the water anytime soon, if at all. And that's a big deal. We've seen that if you ignore water supplies of food, right, the fish on the water, you often put yourself at, like, you go from, let's say, a 50-50 matchup to, like, an 80-20. It's that big of a deal because you're diversifying, right? It's not just one building that now brings you your resource-generating units. It's a second building, and a third if you go another dock, etc., right? And against Delhi, I think it's actually a critical error to, like, not be out ready to build quicker than them. Because if you actually let them get on the water first at all, if you don't get an outpost down first, you're locked out. You're actually genuinely locked out for at least the first 10 minutes, because these fishing boats alone will snipe out your villagers, right? So then you have to reach feudal, and feudal is such a later timing. Timing that you're going to be much later to than your opponent, because now your opponent is able to just gather food at a much more ridiculous rate, and thus diversify people onto gold lines as well. And there you go. Sends out 2 villagers to get this done. But the fishing boat is causing some issues here. The dock, I don't know, it's going to be tight. He needs to hard commit to it, but he runs one of the villagers away. That villager will be sniped. But no, he gets it just in time. It's going to cost him both of the villies for it, though, just to get the dock in the end. And keep in mind that the fishing fleet can actually come and harass any boats he sticks out, though. And that's a problem, because he's not ready to tuck up anytime soon, right? Like, look at the resource situation right now. Income, everything is in favor of 3DB. Kasva only topping him on stone, courtesy of the Uvu. Not really what you want to see. And this all comes down to that choice to prioritize the Uvu over the dock. It's such a rough opening for the Mongols versus Delhi because of that prioritization. Delhi players know that you're going to invest in it. You have to, right? It seems so illogical to not do it because it's how you get your early aggression out, which means you're never going to be as quick as they are to get onto the water. And this is where we're seeing this kind of matchup. have this very interestingly unique buffer for Delhi where it might not exist with other civs. Because other civs, right, they might come out with that early outpost. It's crazy to think as well, like when you think about it, wider than that, like to build an outpost is 70 wood for the Mongols. Surely they can go do it. But you're so restricted in the early eco. You're just shy of what you need. Now as a result, how about this for efficiency? God, I hate myself. That wasn't even intended pun. How about this for efficiency, though? Why not gather food while attacking the dock? I would move the entire fleet right here, right now. I think the only reason he doesn't is because he wants to protect this pass in case there's aggression on land. Oh, scout. Just keep the Khan on his toes in the meantime. Makes me wonder what Kazva's plan now is. Feels kind of shut out in a lot of ways, right? Spears are going to be too slow to move around and do some serious damage. 3DB can easily look to go for a castle age timing. Or, you know, if he wants to play it that long. But the most important part is he's definitely hitting feudal first. He got the required gold before he got forced off of his gold line. So, Dome of Faith now being built. And then I expect him to go straight into the archers, something that Kazva is not going to be ready for. It's tough as well, right? If he goes archers, like, what's your instinctive response? Is to go horseman, right? But then you have to get the wood for the stable. And then you have to upgrade your horsemen, because remember, early horsemen are weak as... I mean, like, what, 80 health, I think it is? I think it's 80 now. It's so pathetic. We rarely ever see it anymore because of it. So you're just at a distinct disadvantage off the back of everything that happened around the border now. Sorry, not 80, it's 100. It was 125 put down to 100. So you'd actually need to tech it up. And that's a big deal for the Mongols, right? Because they don't build a giant clump of military buildings, right? They build one, and then they double up its production. So boxing that down by veteran a unit is not an efficient use of your opening stable. So you don't really have a good option, is what we're getting at here. And these spears won't be able to do any damage now to the economy of 3DB. He's playing tight. You see Kazva never even actually bothered to try and, you know, get out on the water. What would be the point, right? You'd be shot down by all these fishing vessels. Kazva, he's at least now teching up. 3DB is going to beat him, though. Or not. Ooh, I think he's got less people. It's 4 compared, yeah, to the 8. So it looks like Kazva's actually going to match him up, maybe be ahead by a few seconds. But keep in mind that 3DB has 2 docks. So he can actually outproduce you here. It'll be Dao versus the Light Junk. Light Junk's slightly cheaper. That is maybe a one point of limitation for 3DB, is he doesn't have gold now, right? Because he got forced away. But he does have plenty of fishing boats, and he can easily repair. That'll be the difference maker, I think, in this situation. So more fishing boats. Okay, no, so he's just going to deal with the threat simply by using the little peasants on the fishing boats. Hey, man, if you got the mass clump, why not, right? So tech up. Keeps it tight. Sneaks in more sheep. He's got so much economy, even if he got forced off the water here. And more importantly, he starves his opponent. There's so little here. You can see Kazva already forced to be on the berry bushes. That's how bad it went. That's how important this opening is, right? When you're on this river map, play 2 scouts, run up and down the river coast, because that's where the majority of the sheep on the map are. And now look at this. The fleet. The invasion plan. Straight in, on top of the Light Junk. He's trying to funnel them out one by one, but I don't know if it's going to be good enough. Kazva, there is no way you're ever getting control of this sea. Even repairing them. And now, all these small pew-pew shots. Death by 1,000 cuts for the docks. I'm surprised Kazva's even producing this unit still. I think in his mind, he's kind of rattling his brain what he does next. This is what he does. He drops a dock in the north. And this hasn't been identified by 3DB. So 3DB is shutting him out, but now he's not scaling his economy. He does have the food required, but the limiting factor for 3DB, because he still isn't actually present on land, is he's still not out in this gold vein, right? That's actually the big deal breaker right now. Oopsie. Just realized I'm pressing the wrong buttons. I keep doing that occasionally. But yes, Blacksmith going down. Rack's now complete, or archery range rather, and it is going to be the archers. It's the solution, right? You're up against Spearmen. He needs to get that gold, so he needs to be present on land. And he will at least continue fishing in this area. So 3DB, while sniping out the dock, is getting value. Kazva probably looks to build up to, I want to say 5 Light Junk should be good enough to just salvo through. I mean, 2 isn't bad. I just think you're going to trade it out. You won't completely wipe the fishing fleet. But he just wants to get that presence before he loses the dock, so he moves in now. He will be scouted out early. But look how easy it is. 2 Light Junks, 3 volleys, gets rid of the fishing boat. And this is 3DB's fault. He never actually got back on the goal quick enough, so he's never able to actually get the the lethal ships out, right, the Dows. He's now starting to produce them. Let's see if the fishing fleet will last long enough, though. Light junk's retreating away. Fishing boats have inferior range, right? It's the 4 tiles compared to, I think it's the 4.5. No, it's 4 exactly. But it is the burst attacks, right? And you see how much easier it is to burst through one target. Also, keep in mind the range resistance, right? The fishing boats have 0. These light junks have 3. So he pushes his opponent away for the moment. 2 docks working on those Dows. Hasn't put a dent in these light junks just yet, though. The Dows are going to be outnumbered, so they're going to need assistance immediately. And they come out into the mixer. Firing on the go. None of these targets need to actually stand still to fire. He's going to back the Dow up, though. It's coming under too much fire for the moment. That will expose the fishing fleet, though, and he's being pinched on both sides. The light junk comes in from behind. This one might be sunk, but there's a second light junk here already. And Kazva, he's pinched 3DB in such a complicated way. This fishing fleet is no longer economy gained. And you can see it by the effect. 65 food gained per minute right now by 3DB, as he does not have people working the food lines. He needs to get them back to economy soon, but he needs to address the fleet that just is ever growing, as Kazva understands that he could actually win this game off the back of this fight. He did lose a second dock, mind you, because he never repaired it. And, well, 3DB does know this now. So he'll look to clean up the force to the south, and then come back for the one in the north. Because he needs to get his food back online. He's doing healthy on that right now. He's got surplus, but he needs to actually get the income at the ready so he can be prepped for Castle Age tech up timing. Something that Kazva still isn't ready for. Like, look at Kazva's economy. He's invested everything into this fleet. And it's just going to sink like that. Light junks versus the Dows. Light junks, like we said, good in numbers, but once you're outnumbered, they just don't have the health pool to trade favorably at all. It's all about their DPS. He's got 6 up here, but that has given so much breathing room to 3DB. Now up to 5, not to mention the fishing boats. He's going to bring everything to this fight. Looking to push Kazva off for the second time. Off the water completely. Let's see if he can do it. Prioritizing targets right now. Backs up for the moment. Starts to put a dent into it. Kazva's about to lose one of these ships. 2 of them being brought low. We'll retreat them. 3DB. He doesn't hesitate. He pushes in. Even if he loses most of the fishing fleet, he'll be able to rebuild it afterwards. Something that Kazva has never been able to do. So he sticks on top of them the whole time, chasing them all the way back to their dock. Snipes one out. Others retreating, trying to heal behind. The repairs, Kazva, he brings out the villager. Speeds this up. Fishing fleet down to 10 now for 3DB. Might back up again. Tech up is underway. Third of the way through right now, almost half. House of Learning. Kazva can't rush in. The good news for him is that 3DB once again is not fishing. He's going to return to it now, closer to Kazva's base, because he wants to keep eyeballs on this and be able to react quicker. Production continually trickling out these Dows, right? Just keeping that number advantage now. He has 2 more than his opponent. So get back up for the moment. 8 versus the 5. And this will be the push in. And this should be where Kazva realizes the quality has arrived. It's not just quantity anymore. Pushing in, 6-1 of them already. And Kazva, this was his all-in. His economy is all spent on this. Tech up, almost complete for 3DB. And I feel like Kazva, as soon as he loses his fleet, as soon as he hears the tech up, he might just call the game. Because he doesn't have the scalability in his economy anymore. He put everything into this move. It fails, and with it, his hopes of winning the games goes up in flames. 3DB, proven he is not just a one-civ pony, as he wins out in an early gameplay with Delhi.